Hello and welcome back to another episode of Press Start. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Jamie.
Yeah, man, we are well into the semester and things are starting to get warmer. It's starting to become spring. It's really nice out now.
Yeah, things are blooming. The oak grove is nice, and it reminds me a lot of those cozy games like Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah, Stardew Valley, like just the seasons that happen there, and with all the lush landscape, it just makes me enjoy the countryside and the simple ways of life. And I think Sky has a segment on Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I haven't really played much of it, but they're giving an introduction on it, so let's go to that now.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley is by far one of my favorite video games of all time. Actually, it's so high on my list that I find myself playing a little bit every single day. I have almost 500 hours into the game, so it's fair to say that I know a thing or two about the game. For those who haven't played this delightful little indie farming sim by Concerned Ape, you should go buy this on Steam right now. Steam usually has good sales, and it's always good to support indie games like this, rather than the usual soulless AAA slop. Looking at you, EA and Call of Duty. For those who have the game and haven't really gotten into it because it's a little daunting at first, let this segment serve as a beginner's guide for the first year of Stardew Valley. My name is Sky, and I'm going to gently guide you with some helpful tips, money-making schemes, and social skills for you to schmooze the local townsfolk. The first skill that the game gives you the opportunity to learn is farming. You are given 15 parsnip seeds to start your farm off with. These are fairly easy to grow. You're armed with a pickaxe, an axe, a hoe, and a watering can, along with a scythe, but you only really need that to clear off some of the weeds. After clearing some space for your parsnips, you're tasked with tilling the ground, planting the seeds, and watering them. Then, you just wait for them to grow. Now, for some helpful tips. There are two main routes you can take for your gameplay. You can either restore the local community center, which has fallen into disarray because the mayor doesn't do anything to support this town really before you move in. If you're a heartless monster who hates the town, you can also support capitalism through the Joja route. Assuming you love the community you live with, you are going to restore the community center. To get a head start on spring or any season really, I recommend starting to grow the plants that you know you need as soon as the season starts. As far as money making goes, the best selling plants for each season are as follows. Write this down. For spring, it's cauliflower. For summer, it's melon. And for fall, it's pumpkin. Using this information, I recommend putting fertilizer on these plants, assuming you don't want to just use it all on your plants across the board. The only tricky part with farming is that it can take a lot of energy, especially those first couple days when you have to re-till the soil and water all the plants in the same day. For this reason, I personally recommend upgrading your hoe and watering can as soon as you possibly can to save some precious time with planting and tending to your farm. Eventually, you're also going to get a coop and a barn. In the base of these buildings, you can get cows and chickens. To care for these creatures, you pet them every day, either make sure they have grass outside to eat or hay, then collect whatever their products are. That's simple enough. I highly recommend that you allow them to roam outside for as long as you can with some grass. They prefer that greatly to hay inside of the barn/coop. Happier animals lead to better grade products. I honestly recommend working towards a coop as soon as possible because you already get a bunch of grass on your farm for free, so it's really nice to just get some extra daily money that gets better quality the longer that you take care of your animals. After you farm for a while and maybe even greet some people in the town, you'll eventually get a letter in your mailbox from the local fisherman named Willie asking you to come meet him down by the beach. He'll give you a training fishing rod, and the game will give you a quick tutorial on how to fish in the game. Pretty simple, honestly, and it's one of the best ways to make money in the game, in my opinion. Fishing is pretty lucrative because you have a few places in the game where you're able to fish. The ocean, the river beside the town, the lake south of your farm near Marnie's place, and the lake up in the mountains near the mine. There's a bundle at the community center that requires you to fish and such. Tip for that? Get that done as soon as possible. A lot of the fish are available during several seasons, so you can honestly get a lot of that bundle done by spring. The only difficult ones are the specialty fish, which require you either to get a certain level in the mines, unlock the secret woods, or other harder requirements. But the more that you fish, obviously the higher your fishing level goes. Higher fishing level means you get a bigger fishing bar. This makes fishing even easier than before. Also, you get to unlock even better fishing rods that allow you to hold bait and eventually bobbers that give your fishing rods certain aspects or abilities. For example, it can make fish stay a little more still or make treasure easier to find. which means more money for you. Fishing is also super helpful in other ways because it can give you ingredients to cook with. Fish eggs, roe, to put into a pond and grow on your farm to get certain items, example being rainbow trout ponds can produce prismatic shards, one of the hardest to get items in the game and, a lot of money. You can catch legendary fish. But since this is a beginner's guide, I won't talk too much about legendary fish as they are more endgame material rather than year one for new players. They are the hardest to catch fish in the game. About a week or so into the game, you'll get a letter in the mail from Joja Corporation talking about them moving the rock that previously prevented you from entering the mines. Once you're able to go, you're greeted by Gil from the Adventurers Guild, and he'll give you a sword to defend yourself. Once you start descending down, you can mine resources and important materials for crafting recipes, and you'll also be tasked with fighting the monsters that lurk within it. The best tip I ever learned the hard way was to always bring food with you into the mine. If you die, Harvey, the cute town doctor, charges you a hefty sum to bring you back to your farm, and you'll lose some of your items that you probably fought really hard to gather in the first place. Second best tip I learned the hard way was to leave the mine with enough time for me to make it back to my bed before 2 a.m. If you're unaware, your player character cannot stay up all night. If you stay out around midnight, your character will warn you that it's getting late and that they're getting tired. If you stay up past 1 a.m., they'll have Z's above their head, signaling that you're running out of time to get to your bed. If the clock strikes 2, your character will just fall asleep wherever they are. Then somebody will find you and bring you back to your bed. This will also cause you to lose money and or items. In the beginning, you just have the mine in the mountains until you complete the safe room bundle in the community center, which unlocks the bus to Calico Desert. There's a more difficult mine there, but we won't worry about that right now. Mining can be a great way to get not only great crafting materials, but also find artifacts and gems that you can donate to the town museum. The more you donate, the better the rewards are that you receive. You can get decorative items, seeds, other good items, etc., etc. Additionally, you can move around some of what you donated to the museum and you can decorate everything however you want. There's no right place for whatever you're donating, which means you get to organize however you want. In Stardew Valley's opening, you meet 2 people in town, Mayor Lewis and Robin, the carpenter of the town. These are just 2 of the people you can meet in the game. I'm not going to list every single character out, but I will tell you there are 12 romanceable characters in the game. This is not 12, but trust. If that's your cup of tea, there are 6 girls, Haley, Maru, Emily, Penny, Leah, and Abigail, and 6 boys, Harvey, Shane, Elliot, Sebastian, Sam, and Alex. While dating and getting married isn't a requirement, it is a pretty fun aspect of the game. When you get married, these characters move in with you and can even make you food in the morning or perform some of your farm chores for you on special occasions. To get people to like you, you can talk to everyone every day and give them gifts that they like. You can learn what people like through certain dialogues, trial and error, books, and even secret notes, depending on how far you are in the game. While you can't marry everybody in the game, that doesn't mean that the other characters in the game aren't worth knowing. Like, for example, I really like the local homeless man named Linus. He's just really nice and he's a cool character to get to know. Also, Evelyn, who's Alex's grandma, is super sweet. The best ways to increase your friendship with someone are talking to them every day, if you can find them. Some of them have really weird schedules. Sebastian! Giving them gifts and doing quests for them on the bulletin board. Also, when you get far enough in the community center, there's a section for a few characters that will not only give you gifts when you complete the bundle, but increase your friendship points with them. The best day to give someone a gift that they love to increase maximum friendship is their birthdays. Every character has a birthday, and it's worth it to learn them and give them a gift on that day. You'll get the most friendship points. Another aspect of the friendships or relationships in the game is heart events. After you achieve a certain amount of hearts with someone and go to certain places in the game at certain times, you can trigger what is called a heart event. Heart events are little cutscenes where there will usually be dialogue options for you to select from. It's little scenes where you can learn more about the characters that you're trying to befriend. For example, one of Haley's first heart events is arguing with her sister Emily about who should do a certain chore. They ask you to be the tiebreaker in their argument, and depending on what you select, it will either increase or decrease your friendship with Haley. After these heart events, their dialogue and sometimes even their demeanor changes when they interact with you next. Now, when you achieve about 8 hearts with the eligible bachelors or bachelorettes in the game, you can buy a bouquet of flowers from Pierre's General Store and ask that person to be your boyfriend or girlfriend. This game is LGBT friendly, so everyone is a little bi in the game. Meaning that you can basically date whoever you want if they're a romanceable character. Then, once you start dating, their friendship cap deactivates and you can achieve 10 hearts with that person. Once you achieve 10 hearts, you can purchase a mermaid pendant across the bridge at the beach on a stormy day to ask that person to marry you. Once they say yes, you can have a wedding a few days later and that character will move in with you. Once the character moves in with you, they will get a little personalized room in your house and you can either have or adopt up to two kids with them. You get to name them, raise them, and watch them grow to childhood forever because that is all the older they get for some reason. About toddler age. I seriously recommend getting to know everybody at least a little bit. Even though every character isn't going to be your favorite, you should still give everyone a shot. Except for Mayor Lewis. These are some tips that I didn't really have a specific place to put. This is just going to be little things that are helpful when you're just starting out. Starting things off is the traveling caravan that comes every Friday and Sunday. She is super helpful with the community completion if you're trying to get the entire thing done in the first year. She can sell certain items that you may not have access to yet or miss during certain seasons or certain conditions that were never met. There's even a setting when you're first creating your character that guarantees that the community center can be completed in year 1 because she'll sell you seeds that Pierre won't start selling until year 2. Trash digging. Hear me out on this. You can check everybody's trash, and that can also help you seriously with the community center. Not only that, but sometimes there's really good food items or other items that can prove useful. But please be careful. If anyone except Linus sees you digging through the trash, they'll get upset with you and you'll lose friendship points with that person. The last one is a pretty big one. Come in closer. Save one of everything. This may sound insane, but sometimes the game will hit you with missions that you can't complete until the next time that season rolls around because they asked you for a vegetable or fruit that takes longer to grow than you have time for, and instead of, being realistic and asking you at the beginning of that season, they wait for the very end just to make sure that you save something. It just makes that easier if you save one of everything. It's also good for bundle completion, crafting recipes, cooking, dyeing clothes, and gifting. Okay, I know I said the last one was the last one, but this is another good tip. Seriously, put in effort into all of the festivals. They're not only really fun, but there's really good rewards for the ones where there's competition. Like for example, the Fall Fair. You can buy a star drop if you get enough stars to buy it. Star drops increase the max cap for your energy. Well, those are all the tips that I could think of that would make the game a little less daunting. If you have any more questions, there are wikis for every item, event, character, and hard event online if you can't remember something or just don't want to do the trial and error. There's no shame in that. I have to check lists all the time because I like challenging myself with how fast I can complete the community center. I really hope that you give this game a try. My name is Sky Swartz, and thank you for watching, and remember to keep gaming, Indiana.
Wow, that was a great segment from Sky. I really enjoy Stardew Valley, though. The caves can be very scary at times, I'd say.
Yeah, it's only really a feeling you can get with those indie games. And if you want some more scary indie games, Sky's ranking and talking about some of them up next.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of indie horror games out there that I'm too scared to play, but Sky has, and we're going to see what indie horror games you should check out.
Hello everybody, my name is Sky, and this is Justin, and we are going to be ranking some indie horror games. So we're going to do this in a tier list format. Prepared, we have Little Nightmares, the first one.
I really like Little Nightmares. I think it's really interesting. I have it. I haven't played it yet, but I've watched a full playthrough. So I know everything that happens in Little Nightmares 1 and 2, and I think it's really interesting.
I love when games show and don't tell you anything. So everything's kind of up to interpretation. So personally, as an avid fan, I also pre-ordered the third game. I don't know when it comes out yet. GameStop's gonna call me. Shout out to GameStop. For those who don't know, the first one takes place on the Maw, which is a giant ship. So you're just kind of hearing the creaking and the ocean noises and the creaking of the big ship. But Little Nightmares, I think I'd rank it. I think that's a fair A tier. I think that's pretty easy. It's short. It loses points for being it's such a little game. Number 2 is going to be Little Nightmares 2, the sequel. We get Mono, so we get to play as a new character. We see the return of Six. This also sits at A tier for me because it loses points for the ending, because the ending made me mad.
As a Team Fortress 2 fan, the fact that you can find and put on different hats immediately gives this game points. I think it's really good. I think it stands up well as a sequel. I haven't played either, so I can't tell you exactly how they feel fully, but like I don't know how I feel about this like as I don't think it fully rises beyond its original in terms of being like a sequel, but I think it's a very, very good sequel.
Next up, we have Bendy and the Ink Machine. I am going to preface this with I did not include the Dark Revival because I, one, couldn't remember if it was out yet, and two, haven't seen anything on it because I want to play it. So this is completely spoiler free because I haven't finished Bending the Ink Machine and haven't watched a playthrough of it because I want to finish it myself, and two, again, haven't played the Dark Revival yet. But I think I love the world of Bendy, and it's like a dark Disney kind of vibe to it. Where for those of you who don't know, here's Bendy and the Ink Machine. For those who don't know, you are a former employee to this animation company that did some shady stuff. And it has this like older Felix the Cat, Betty Boop, older Disney, Steamboat Willie.
Classic 20s, 30s rubber hose animation.
Right. And you find out Ruh-Roh Raggy, they're alive now. I think that sits at a B tier. I'm just gonna say this for the viewers at home. I'm not brave. I love being scared, like I'm an adrenaline junkie. But, like, I have a hard time playing games that scare the crap out of me.
I think Bendy and the Ink Machine is a game that's held up in large part by its art style. I feel like the gameplay itself isn't that, like, new, inventive. It doesn't go in directions that I feel like it could and I wanted it to. And so I feel like it's a weaker game for that. I think if it didn't have the art style it did, it would be entirely forgettable. But that art style is so iconic. The character designs are so interesting, and just the general aesthetics of the game are done well enough that it stays pretty good. I feel like it's a solid B tier.
We're gonna move on to Baldi's Basics. I'm sitting that at a C tier. There's not a story to it. It's just like one of those difficult. It's like a challenge game where it's not so much like, but it is scary.
I feel like Baldi's Basics doesn't really need a story. I feel like it's a game that had a very specific idea in mind. It set out to do it, and it captured it, I don't want to say perfectly, but like really, really well. I think the aesthetics of it are something that I want to see in more games. The look of, you know, older, especially like educational games and things like that can be really unsettling because they just didn't have the technology or the skill to pull off realism, and they're trying realism, and it makes things really uncanny in a really interesting way.
See, you know what? I'll put it at like the lowest of B tier, and that is as high as I will move it because it plays to both of my fears, a lot of my fears. Fear of failure. I have a severe fear of being chased, and fear of doing math under pressure. Like that actually like makes me anxious. Like, do you remember? Shout out to the people in the people in the comments. Let me know if you had to do this. These like timed math sheets. Of, like, the
ones where
multiplication
yeah,
things.
basic multiplication.
Moving on, we're gonna be talking about Hello Neighbor, F tier, F tier, F
Yeah.
tier.
I'm not going to argue with you on that. It was a really promising concept that then tripped over its own shoelaces and died.
The story was stupid. It was over convoluted, and the gameplay is awful. F tier.
They were trying too hard to be like their contemporaries, and I think because of that, they failed.
Poppy's Playtime, another indie horror mascot game. I have been recently watching Markiplier's playthrough of Poppy's Playtime because Chapter 4 had just come out. So I rewatched Chapter 1, and I'm partway through Chapter 2. I know they got in trouble with like connections to NFTs, and there was like controversy.
I was gonna say
surrounding that about 3 years ago. Yeah, that's how long ago that was.
Oh God.
But I think the concept of Poppy's Playtime is really interesting. It's like evil Toy Story, but it also has like the same energy as Bendy does, and I can tell that they derived a lot of their inspiration from Bendy and the Ink Machine just by like the tapes replacing like the cassette players that you can find from former employees.
Yeah.
I would put Poppy's Playtime in A tier, but it loses points because Mommy Longlegs refers to herself in the third person as Mommy, and that makes me uncomfortable.
I'll be honest with you. D tier.
D tier?
Maybe lower. First of all, I got to address the elephant in the room. NFT lore drops is the dumbest concept.
That's what it was?
Yes.
C tier.
That's what makes it so bad for me is that not only is it that they did NFT stuff, that's its own thing. It's the fact that it was lore.
I didn't know
which
it
is
was lore
that's
related.
what that's everyone is like, oh, I love mascot horror games. I love the hidden lore behind them. Everyone wants another Five Nights at Freddy's mystery to unravel. And
Hopefully better written.
so when Poppy Playtime comes out and it feels just like every other mascot horror game that I was seeing at the time, and then it does NFT lore drops, I felt like there was no passion in it.
I separated Five Nights at Freddy's into a couple separate categories because I felt like putting the entire franchise as one wasn't fair because a lot of the games had done different things, but also ranking them all individually was going to be impossible. So I have connected together as one rank Five Nights at Freddy's 1 through 4. So I feel like I think that's easily an S tier.
I put it in S tier. I feel like I would drop it down to A because of FNAF 4, but that's my own personal feelings. I don't like FNAF 4.
I love FNAF 4.
FNAF 4 took a
It
perfect
gave us
trilogy.
the confusing bite of 85.
We got a box at the end that they never even opened.
I love the gameplay of FNAF 4. I like having to, I like the nightmare. I also love the design of the nightmare animatronics. I thought like the Halloween stuff was cool. Like I liked a lot of like the gameplay of it. You know what? I'll separate 1 through 3 and we'll put 4 and A tier. So next we have Pizzeria Simulator. This is, okay, I agree that the game should have ended after 3.
Mm-hmm.
However,
This is the true ending.
this is the true ending.
This is the best ending. And
S tier,
again,
for Henry Emily's speech alone, S tier.
it's a solid game. It's doing something that's very different, but it's doing it really well, and it's doing it really interestingly. I think, the endings are all really good. The humor is solid. The horror is solid. It's just a good game.
I like
and
that
if
you
they
can
had,
go bankrupt because of liability.
Yes.
I think that's really cool that they're like the choices that you make isn't like mattered for story reasons. I mean, some of them are.
Some of them do, but
But like, I like that it's just like, hey, you kept making shady business decisions, so realistically, you're sued. Get
exactly.
served.
Sister
After
Location.
The books, really.
Where do you put Sister Location?
Sister Location is D tier.
Good. I'm
I
kind of
like-
with you.
I like the animatronics because I think they're cool, and I like a lot of the story and everything. But I hate some of like the ending to it, like the stupid Ennard crap. Some of the animatronics I think are stupid. I think the baby ballerinas are stupid. I think Ennard is stupid. I hate that Ennard matters as much as Ennard does. But and also the remnant crap is stupid. Sister Location D tier. We're moving on to FNAF World.
FNAF World, I feel like, is a C
A tier.
Okay. I will fully, gladly put it in A tier.
I
think it's
love the story of it. I loved how different it was.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone hates FNAF World, and I think it's overhated.
I respect games that go in directions that fans don't want and try something new because of it.
Moving on. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. F tier. Very confidently in F tier. I'm sorry, I heard some gasps. I think it's stupid. I think that the writing is stupid. I think Gregory annoys out of me. I hate him so bad. The only thing good that came out of Security Breach was the memes. That's it.
I'm going to put Security Breach in C or D tier. I think the humor hits pretty well, but the rest of it is not good at all.
Fran Bow. This is one of my favorites. I love story-driven horror games, and it's a lot of like, mentally ill kind of psychosis levels of like kind of, and there's body horror and edited in Fran Bow. It's like Alice in Wonderland on more crack.
I should know more about Franbo. I don't feel qualified to speak on Franbo, but I think everything I have heard about it is very good.
Fran Bow, I'm gonna sit at B tier. Inscription. I love Inscription.
S tier. If you don't know anything about Inscription, don't look up anything about Inscription. Go in completely blind. I need you to understand that the game is only bettered by you not knowing anything about it.
Amnesia is a classic. I couldn't actually remember if this was indie or not, but I was willing to include it anyway.
It's indie, I believe.
Yeah. So I love Amnesia. That's what got me into like watching YouTube. Shout out. Actually, maybe I shouldn't shout that out. Never mind. If you know, you know. It built his career, but it also built Markiplier's. But I think the game is really cool. A lot of custom maps, and there was a lot of creativity behind a lot of the custom maps and custom stories that people would make. So I think I'd set it at like B tier because it still holds up.
I think Amnesia is really good. I don't feel fully qualified to speak on it, but it is a classic, and it shaped the horror scene
Right.
for video games for like a decade. It's very, very good, and
Also,
I
just
would
like the
recommend
Let's
it if
play
people are
scene
interested.
on like YouTube, where
Oh,
like a
yeah.
lot of content creators were playing it at the time.
It
built their
is
careers.
it is foundational in Let's Plays.
But last but not least, we are going to talk about Amori. Amori, I kind of had to sit with for a minute because I decided if it was enough of a horror game that I could include it. But I think it is because there's a lot of body horror. If you are going to play this game, I recommend playing it blind, but there are trigger warnings for suicide, a lot of like intense mental health and like, you know, those kinds of things. So if you're not in a good mental space, I cannot stress this enough, do not play Amori. But if you are in a good mental space and you can handle it, definitely play Amori. I'm setting it so close to S tier, like the top of S tier over everything else we put in it, because this game shaped me.
Omori is the game with the art style that's all like hand drawn, and the main character is just
They're in black and white. They're
Yeah.
just like the Frisk face.
I have heard nothing but positive things about that game, and it's really cool that it's had that strong of a personal impact on you. But have you considered that Inscription is the best video game of all time?
right.
Get in the comment. I'm messing with you. Omori is really good.
Amori is really good. But we're going to wrap that up. I was Sky, this was Justin, and this was our tier list on indie horror games. Keep gaming, Indiana.
Wow, some of those indie horror games are very scary. Like, I don't know how Sky does it. For now, that's it. Thank you all very much for watching, and remember to keep gaming, Indiana.